Because what I'm about to tell you in the next few minutes is something that took me years to understand. And once I did, I couldn't unsee it. It changed how I look at every conversation, every relationship, every room I walk into. There's a type of person in this world that nobody talks about. They're not on social media flexing. They're not in your face arguing. They're not chasing clout or begging for attention. They sit quietly, they watch, they listen. And by the time you realize what happened, they've already won. You've met this person before. Maybe it was that quiet kid in school who said nothing all year and then scored the highest marks. Maybe it was that colleague at work who never speaks in meetings, but somehow keeps getting promoted. Maybe it was that friend who gives you advice so accurate it feels like they're reading your mind. These people aren't lucky. They're not naturally gifted. They're running a completely different mental operating system than the rest of the world. And today, right now, I'm going to install that operating system in your brain. No fluff, no motivational garbage, no wake up at 5 a.m. and drink green juice nonsense. I'm talking about raw, real psychological frameworks that the world's most powerful thinkers, strategists, and silent geniuses have used for centuries. The kind of knowledge that schools will never teach you because honestly, if everyone knew this, the game would be over. 7 minutes. That's all I'm asking. 7 minutes. And you'll never think the same way again. Let's go. Here's a pattern I want you to notice starting today. Walk into any room, a classroom, an office, a party, a family gathering, and identify the loudest person. The one talking the most. The one trying hardest to be noticed. The one dominating every conversation, interrupting others, making sure everyone hears their opinion. Now ask yourself, is that person actually the most powerful person in the room? Almost never. The loudest person in the room is almost always the most insecure person in the room. And I'm not saying this to be harsh. I'm saying this because psychology backs it up with decades of research. Here's what's actually happening. When someone is constantly seeking external validation, through attention, through dominance, through noise, it's because they don't have internal validation. They need other people to confirm that they matter. They need the room to acknowledge them because deep down, they haven't acknowledged themselves. Now contrast that with the quiet ones, the observers, the ones sitting in the corner, saying nothing, watching everything. What are they doing? They're collecting data. Every word someone speaks is data. Every facial expression is data. Every reaction, every laugh, every moment of hesitation, data. While the loud person is busy performing, the quiet person is busy learning. And in any strategic environment, business, relationships, competition, life, the person with the most information wins. Always. There's a concept in game theory called information asymmetry. It means that in any interaction, the person who has more information than the other party has a massive advantage. Think about poker. The player who can read other players tells while revealing nothing about their own hand. That player dominates the table. Life is the same game, just bigger stakes. Let me tell you about a real person who understood this. His name was Mayer Amschel Rothschild, the founder of the Rothschild banking dynasty, one of the wealthiest families in human history. Rothschild had a famous principle. The one who controls information controls the world. He didn't build his empire by being loud. He built it by creating the fastest information network in Europe. While others were reacting to news, he already knew. While others were making emotional decisions, he'd already calculated every move. He was quiet. He was invisible. And he was untouchable. Now let me bring this into your daily life with a principle I call the silence advantage. Starting today, I want you to practice strategic silence. Here's how it works. Rule number 1, never be the first to speak in a group discussion. Let others go first. Let them reveal their positions, their opinions, their biases. Once everyone has spoken, you have the full picture. You know who agrees with whom, who has weak arguments, who is emotionally invested, and where the gaps are. Now, when you speak, you can address everything at once. Your contribution will seem more intelligent, more considered, more authoritative, because it is. Rule number 2, when someone asks you a question, don't answer immediately. Pause for 2 to 3 seconds. This does 2 things. First, it signals that you're thoughtful, that you don't just blurt out whatever comes to mind. People unconsciously respect this. Second, it gives your brain time to move from a reactive response to a strategic response. Those 2 seconds are the difference between saying something average and saying something powerful. Rule number 3. When you're in a conflict or heated discussion, speak less, not more. Here's why. When someone is angry and arguing with you, they expect resistance. They expect you to fight back, to match their energy, to escalate. When you respond with calm, measured silence or a short, precise sentence, it completely disrupts their pattern. They don't know how to handle it. Their emotional momentum collapses because there's nothing to push against. This is exactly what hostage negotiators do. They don't argue with kidnappers. They go quiet. They listen. They let the other person talk themselves into exhaustion. And then, when the moment is right, they say the one precise thing that changes the entire dynamic. You can use this in arguments with friends, with family, in business negotiations, in job interviews, everywhere. The person who controls their silence controls the conversation. There's an ancient quote from Loudest that captures this perfectly. Those who know do not speak. Those who speak do not know. 2,500 years later, this is still one of the most powerful truths about human psychology. The people who are truly competent, truly intelligent, truly strategic, they don't need to announce it. Their results speak, their moves speak, their silence speaks louder than anyone's words. Learn to be quiet. Learn to be still. Learn to let the room come to you instead of chasing the room. That's the first upgrade to your mental operating system. Most people go through life playing checkers. They see what's right in front of them, they react to it, and they move on. Something good happens. They celebrate. Something bad happens. They panic. Their entire existence is a series of reactions to immediate circumstances. But there's a small percentage of people, call them strategists, call them geniuses, call them whatever you want, who play chess. They don't just see what's in front of them. They see what's coming. They think in sequences. They plan 3, 5, 10 moves ahead while everyone else is figuring out their next step. This isn't about being smarter. It's about thinking differently. And it's a skill anyone can learn. Let me explain the framework. I call it second and third order thinking. And it's based on the work of Howard Marks, one of the greatest investors of all time. First order thinking is simple and surface level. It asks, what happens next? Second order thinking asks, and then what? Third order thinking asks, and then what after that? Let me show you how this works in real life. Example 1. First order thinking says, I'll skip the gym today because I'm tired. Second order thinking asks, if I skip today, will I skip tomorrow too? Will this become a pattern? Will I lose my momentum? Third order thinking asks, if I lose my momentum, what happens to my health in 6 months? My energy levels? My confidence? My discipline in other areas of life? Suddenly, skipping the gym isn't just about today. It's about who you become over time. Example 2. First order thinking says, I'll tell my boss he's wrong in front of everyone because I'm right and he needs to know. Second order thinking asks, how will my boss react? Will he feel humiliated? Will he hold a grudge? Third order thinking asks, if he holds a grudge, how does that affect my next performance review, my promotion, my reputation in the company? Is being right in this moment worth the long-term cost? See the difference? Most people stop at the first level. They see the immediate action and the immediate consequence. But reality doesn't work in straight lines. Reality is a web of interconnected consequences, and the person who can trace those connections further into the future makes dramatically better decisions. This is exactly how chess grandmasters think. They don't just see the board as it is. They see dozens of possible future boards, hypothetical positions that could arise from different move sequences. And they choose the move that leads to the best position not now, but several turns from now. In fact, research on chess grandmasters has revealed something fascinating. When scientists studied their brain activity, they found that grandmasters don't actually calculate more possibilities than amateur players. They calculate fewer, but they calculate the right ones. They've developed pattern recognition that allows them to instantly filter out bad moves and focus only on the most promising sequences. This is called chunking, the ability to recognize complex patterns as single units of information. And it's not limited to chess. You can develop this in any area of life. Here's how to start training your brain for multi-order thinking. Exercise 1. The consequence map. Take any decision you're facing right now. Write it in the center of a page. Then draw branches for every possible first-order consequence. Then from each of those, draw branches for second-order consequences. Then, third order, you'll create a visual map of the decision's ripple effects, and you'll see paths you never would have considered otherwise. Exercise 2, the pre-mortem. Before you start any project, any plan, Any major decision. Imagine it's 1 year in the future and everything has gone wrong. Now work backward. What went wrong? Why did it fail? What did you miss? This technique, developed by psychologist Gary Klein, has been shown to increase the ability to identify potential problems by 30%. It forces your brain out of optimistic first-order thinking and into realistic multi-order analysis. Exercise 3. The daily chess game. Every morning, pick one situation you're likely to encounter that day. A meeting, a conversation, a task. Before it happens, think through 3 possible scenarios. What could go right? What could go wrong? What's the unexpected thing that nobody else is preparing for? Then plan your response to each scenario in advance. When the situation actually unfolds, you'll be operating from preparation, not reaction. And that difference is enormous. Let me tell you a story that illustrates this perfectly. In 1962, during the Cuban Missile Crisis, the world came closer to nuclear war than at any other point in history. Soviet missiles were in Cuba. American generals were demanding an immediate military strike. The pressure was overwhelming. Everyone around President Kennedy was thinking in first-order terms. We need to act now. We need to show strength. We need to remove those missiles by force. But Kennedy engaged in deeper thinking. He asked, if we bomb Cuba, how does the Soviet Union respond? They'll probably attack West Berlin. If they attack Berlin, we're obligated by NATO to respond. If we respond in Berlin, that's a European war. If it's a European war, it goes nuclear. One decision, bombing Cuba, traced through 3 orders of consequences, led to the end of civilization. So instead, Kennedy chose a naval blockade, a measured, strategic response that gave the Soviets room to back down without losing face. It was less dramatic, less emotionally satisfying, but it prevented World War III. That's the power of thinking multiple moves ahead. It's not about being the smartest person. It's about being the most thoughtful person. It's about slowing down your decision-making process just enough to see the full picture before you act. The silent geniuses of the world, they do this constantly. While everyone else is reacting to what's happening now, they're already positioned for what's happening next. Start playing chess in a world of checkers players. That's your second mental upgrade.